In fact, chances are, if you comment on a fairly regular basis on my channel, there's a good chance I recognize your name by now. Every time you make a comment, I'm like, oh, it's that guy. I hate that guy. Nah, I'm just kidding. I love you all. Most of you, anyway. And maybe I should reply more to comments, but a lot of them are just like people saying things, and it's like, yeah, it's a thing you said. I'm not really sure if I can really add to that comment by replying to it, because it's like, you know, some comments are complete thoughts, you know, all by themselves. It's like nothing more is required from me. Your comment said everything that you intended to say, and yeah, you've accomplished your stated purpose of saying a thing, and I don't want to trivialize it by going herp-de-derp, hey, you commented. This comment makes me notice that you have commented, and has provoked maybe a slight chuckle or maybe a slight, you know, moment of, you know, thinking or something. But it's like, do I, you know, what can I say to this comment? It certainly is a comment, and I appreciate that you said it, but how do I respond to this? I mean, I don't want to be one of those guys who's like, oh, thanks for watching, derp-a-derp, every single time I see a comment, because, I mean, I think that's a little derpy, it gets a little redundant, and I'd be tired of doing it, but I just don't want you guys to go away with the impression that I don't listen to you, or I don't pay attention to you, because I certainly do. So, what are you doing, Bone Canoe? Oh yes, what I'm doing is I am continuing this just as a road for a little bit. We're going to do some landscaping. Alright, whee! I like that. It's like very angular roads here. I think I'm going to leave the mountains here largely undeveloped, because it's just nice to have big, wonderful areas of open ground in cities such as these, you know? Although it might be fun to just sort of continue this road, because sometimes it's good to have physical boundaries here. Alright. Yes, educators are striking, but we don't care about such things. We're busy building roads, bozo. Oh man. Speaking of bozo, when I was a kid, there was this Bozo the Clown TV show on some station or another, and they had this, you know, they did little skits and things, and if I remember correctly, they also played like Rocky and Bullwinkle clips as well during that, although I might be confusing two different things. It's really hard to remember, but there was this thing called Bozo Buckets, where these kids had to drop balls into these buckets. I mean, self-explanatory, right? And the prizes were, you know, well, they were nothing like too extravagant, but to kids, they were like really cool. And I remember there were 6 buckets, and in the 6th bucket was a $100 bill. And for, you know, kids, you know, if we were lucky enough to get allowances from our parents, you know, it'd be a couple bucks a week, usually, you know, maybe as many as 5 if your parents were some of the richer ones. But $100 all at once seemed like quite a lot, and it was like, ooh, look at that. So that was kind of cool. I'm really not sure where I was going with that story, but yeah, that was something that existed. Oh man, the early 90s. What a time to be a young child. To those of you born later, I just am saying that you missed out. Sorry. Okay, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be like old people in here saying, you thought the 90s were fun? You should have been around in the insert decade here. 70s, 80s, 60s, blah, blah, blah. We had so much fun. We used to blah, 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 blah. And you couldn't do that anymore by the time you were around. And it's like, yeah, you're probably right. But, you know, there was a lot of cool stuff that we had that no longer is around either. Or if it's around, it's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A very neutered version of what we remember. I'm sure all of you have experienced that. I mean, there's things that are from the 2000s decades, the zeros, or the aughts, as the British call them, that have been mutilated by now. I mean, the example I can think of right now is Cartoon Network, which was like the thing in the late 90s and early 2000s, slightly after my time, because I was already a teenager by that point. But, you know, I've always been one to appreciate cartoons, so I, you know, I still watched shows, you know, Dexter's Laboratory, and especially Courage the Cowardly Dog. Any other Courage fans in here? I know you're here. That show was quite possibly the greatest cartoon of the last 15 to 20 years. It was just epic. And, yeah, all that stuff. Ed, Edd n Eddy, that was a fun show. There are a few others, too, you know. Powerpuff Girls, never watched that too much, but yeah, it was a good show. And so on and so forth. A lot of good things there, but like I said, it's no longer a thing anymore. And this is something I think people who were born in the early 90s to mid-90s are going to remember very fondly and talk about later. But, oh well. People these days are talking a lot about that show, Adventure Time. And I have to admit, I have not seen a single episode of that other than the, you know, the original pilot of the show that leaked out onto the internet like 6 years ago or something. That was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot, and I really thought it could have made a good show. And apparently a lot of other people thought so too, which is why it exists. So I don't know if that's something I would like. If you think I would like it, please tell me so. And maybe I'll check it out when I get a chance, you know? Sounds like a good deal. Alright, so what are we doing here? Well, we are, let's see. Let's see here. Go like that. You know what would be the derpiest thing in the world? If we said, here's your avenue. You just merely have to do a little jig over to there. I'm very tempted to just keep that like that. But nah. We're gonna do it the right way here. Now if I could just continue this road straight through, I can. Look at that. It's kind of neat. I kind of like that. And it really lends a bit of historical depth to the city, because it makes it look like, oh, this road was here first, and this avenue had to sort of reorient itself around it through different periods of construction, which, of course, is actually the case, you know? It's pretty cool how that works out. But like I said, I like mixed-use zones, so let's just put that in here. And as you can see, the key to success is care and attention. And this is going to be a dead-end avenue, but that's alright. And our national graveyard, where all our heroic warriors of the ages have been buried, is over here. We can make a little roundabout that doesn't connect to anything. It's kind of derpy, but it's alright. Somebody told me that I've been using the word derp and derpy way too much, and to that I say, you're a derp. I'm the one who's saying words that are words. Lol. That didn't make any sense, but, I don't know. It's kind of funny because this doesn't really have to do with the word derp, but, you know, the abbreviation LOL, commonly known as LOL in modern internet tongue, is something that I avoided for the longest time. As you may or may not know, the term LOL actually originated in the mid-90s, I believe. Is when it first started to be used in any kind of way, in any kind of major way. And I didn't have any kind of instant messenger until 2004 when I went to college. I just didn't really have a use for it when I was in high school. So, but when I finally got around to getting AIM, who here remembers AIM? Show of hands, yes, yes. Because that was the thing from about 1996 until 2006. It had about a decade of, you know, popularity before falling into obscurity, being replaced by things such as Skype. I know Yahoo Messenger was also a thing for a while, but it was really AIM that was the thing. But when I first got it, I avoided using LOL like it was the devil, you know. I would say things like ha ha ha, or tee hee hee, or ho ho ho, or any of that stuff. But I avoided using LOL at all cost, and this lasted right up until about 2010, 2011, something like that. And nowadays, I am making up for all those years of not using LOL by using it to an extreme and somewhat ridiculous level. I mean, I lol at things that aren't even that funny sometimes, and I even sometimes say lol instead of laughing at certain things, you know? It's like, that's funny, but I am not, my chuckle has not been brought to a head, so I am going to say lol instead. Reminds me of that episode of Scrubs where JD is dating this girl that instead of laughing says, "That's so funny," whenever anything's funny, and it drives him up the wall. But, you know, it's just something that I do. In fact, you know what? Let's look at that. Well, lol. There, I typed lol for you guys. Lol, 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 lol. Okay, enough of that. I like how this part of the city is getting a largely unplanned look, you know? A more authentic thing. Now I'm going to keep this area open for future cemeteries. In fact, we're going to de-zone all this, because this might prove to be our cemetery area. Now, if we do 2 blocks there, we can take 2 blocks off here and simply have a road coming through. And we can put a little bit more residential here. Stop complaining at me. You think I care about your petty concerns, citizenry. And, fun fact, I used AIM right up until 2011. Yes, I did. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed of it either. I mean, I had Skype starting in 2007, 2008, 2009 at the very latest. But I still used AIM for the longest time, and, you know, it really wasn't until I came here to my current apartment in Bensalem that I stopped using it and switched on over to Skype, sort of, you know, more or less permanently. I kind of like how this is turning out, but I want to add me a television studio. I'm going to throw that down right here. So, this could be a news station. It could be C-SPAN headquarters, or, you know, our nation's equivalent of C-SPAN. Everyone wanting to get in on this action here. Once again, Sims are scouting for office advantages. Lol, call me superstitious, but I don't want to put a church anywhere that's too close to our national capital. I'm kind of afraid of, you know, religious influences in our government. Like, I'll put churches in the city, but I'm just not going to put them anywhere near our capital. Like, for instance, you know, out here somewhere. Yeah. Let's put you there. See? We are going to give our Sims the churches they want. We'll even give them another church and put it down here somewhere. Remembering that this is not StarCraft, this is SimCity, and we click with the other key than the one I clicked with, which I already forgot, if we want to put our things in the right spot. Okay. Once again, let's look around. It looks like a relatively small area that we zoned in. But this is a good meshing, I think, of traditional Dwyran style with sort of your hip, new age bone canoe swag going on here. It just melds together well. I really feel it to be so.